In the studio, we have Phakamile Hlubi, who is the national spokesperson of the National Union of Metal Workers. Thank you very much for coming.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your viewers.
Yeah, when we take a look at how all and sundry is inconvenienced by load shedding, and especially when it's business, household, and now even the deceased.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, this is why this really is a crisis of immense proportions. Every business, every household in this country is affected by this situation, and it's really something that requires radical intervention. We need to see some real changes, not just in terms of policy direction of the country, but in terms of those who are leading this. As NUMSA, we are shocked, we are dismayed that we are at this point of stage 6 load shedding. Who ever thought that this is where we would be today? And yet the writing has been on the wall for some time, and it's completely unacceptable that this government has brought us to this kind of disaster.
It's really surprising because I remember 3 months ago there was an undertaking by Eskom that there won't be any load shedding until next year, March. But some analysts were saying, watch the space. Before the festive season, there's going to be load shedding. Why is information coming from different directions and all quarters when the situation should actually be honest from Eskom, and the prediction and speculation from outside are not being accurate?
I think it's because there is a failure of leadership. I think what has become even more apparent is that those who are taking decisions don't actually have a clue of what they're doing. You're dealing with a board, the Eskom board, for example, is led by Jabu Mabuza, who has no experience in Eskom, no knowledge of electricity generation, and yet there he is as the board chairperson and the acting GCEO. Can you imagine? You've got a COO and a bunch of senior executives who also lack generation experience. So it's very clear, and this is what NUMSA has been saying from the beginning, since last year even, that what the crisis we experienced last year, and you'll remember, Colin, that we had load shedding around this time last year, and even this time last year they claimed it was wet coal, if you recall. We have been saying as NUMSA consistently that the situation is going to worsen because you have people who are leading this institution and who really don't know what they're doing.
They've been saying that it's not actually the ailing equipment or the heavy downpours, the result of floods and so forth, and now the issue of sabotage.
Yeah.
What do you make out of this when they stated for a fact that it's somebody who knows the operations of a power station?
Well, to be frank, and to quote the NUMSA president, they're lying. It's a simple explanation. They're lying. They're lying because they don't know. They don't have solutions. And what this tells us is what we've been saying consistently. You've got a government which has deployed people to run this institution. Eskom's problem is not just the fact that since 2012 they've refused to do maintenance. There's supposed to be planned maintenance that they're supposed to do. They haven't done it since 2012. They've cut costs on in relation to that. Secondly, you've got another crisis in relation to its finances. You remember that Jabu Mabuza confirmed that as of next year, it looks very likely that they're going to lose another 20 billion. So you've got a crisis in terms of the finances, you've got a crisis in terms of actual operations, and for us it just speaks to the general narrative which we've heard from the finance minister and some from within the governing party that these SOEs need to be privatized. So what we're watching here is the collapse of both SAA and Eskom in order to justify privatization, and those who will benefit from privatization are those who are connected to the governing party.
So at the moment, there has been an analysis that unbundling Eskom is like rearranging the chairs in a sinking Titanic, and looking at the incoming CEO, Andrew Reiter, is he just getting a poisoned chalice?
Well, our views on Andre de Ruyter have been very clear. His track record at Nampak has been disastrous for workers. This is a person who is not known for turning around any institution. What he is known for is for shutting down and selling off assets. So what we are reading into the appointment of Andre de Ruyter is that indeed many Eskom assets will be sold. There will be closures of plants. In fact, we know for a fact, for example, that several power stations have already been closed as of March this year. So again, we shouldn't be surprised that we have a crisis with load shedding. And when you look at the unbundling, for example, how will unbundling deal with the high debt levels that Eskom has? How does it actually deal directly with that problem? It doesn't. You have the likes of Chris Yelland who claim that by unbundling, Eskom will be more transparent. That's not true. The government has had access to all aspects of Eskom's generation, its costs. It's not going to suddenly be more transparent just through unbundling. The reason they're unbundling is because they want to make it easier for the private sector to enter this space. And these decisions are going to benefit a minority of those who are already enriched at the expense of the working class, poor, and the majority.
Let's take a look at the 7 neighboring countries that Eskom sells electricity to. Have we heard of any blackouts in those countries? And also with the knowledge that if you are actually having a consistent feed to your neighbors but not being able to give your children food in the house consistently, why such a contradiction?
Which is why we keep saying that this is deliberate. Clearly, they, on some level, they know the solutions to this crisis. I mean, as unions, since the wage talks of last year, as NUMSA, we've been on record. We've identified what the problems are. The problems in relation to the bloated procurement spend on coal, the renewable energy IPPs, which are a drain on Eskom's finances, the cost overruns at Medupi and Kusile. There's been no intervention on that front. We've known since 2012 that Eskom took a decision not to do maintenance. And as you say, why is it that our neighboring countries are not experiencing load shedding? For us, the simple answer is that this ANC government has decided that it's going to privatize our state-owned entities. The only way it can do so and justify it to the broader public is to collapse these state-owned institutions so that we all accept when the private sector must now come in, take over and rescue these institutions.
You're cutting short. What's your proposed solution?
Our proposed solution is for them to do what they should have been doing since 2012. Fire the board. Fire Pravin Gordhan, who clearly doesn't have any understanding of state-owned entities and has no business being Minister of DPE. Those are our immediate solutions. In terms of our mid to long-term solutions, they need to deal decisively with the corrupt procurement spend on coal. They need to renegotiate or cancel the IPP contract. And if they fail to do so, as NUMSA, we are going to continue with our program of action. We have called on SAFTU, and in our CC, we are actually saying that we must be calling on COSATU and other federations and other unions to join us in a Section 77 national strike in order to highlight these issues and force change in the behavior of this government and of these boards.
Right, now that the leave days are cancelled at Eskom, it means that we have to cancel your leave because we're going to need you from time to time. So no Christmas and New Year holiday for you now.
Well, that's very clear from the onset.
Thank you very much for making time.
Thank you.
Okay, Phakamile Hlubi-Majola is the national spokesperson of the National Union of Metal Workers, a union here in South Africa, and of course into other news.